Would you please stand for the pledge? And after the pledge, would you remain standing, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. What I'd like us to do is to offer up a moment of silence for those who fought and died for us in the world some 80 years ago in the invasion of Normandy. My dad, Johnny Stillman, parachuted over the front lines that day. He fought all the way to the outskirts of Berlin. He was a lucky man to survive. So could we have a few moments of silence to remember those folks who fought and died for us? Amen. Please be seated. Chancellor, has the notice of this meeting been posted?
Yes, it has. I certify that the notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the law, Chair.
Thank you, sir. Any public comment?
No, sir. We have no individuals registered for public comment this evening.
Absolutely. Special introductions, special guests, recognitions?
I do have a few, and just want to be really transparent at the front end. We have some makeup to do because if you remember last month, we had some folks that couldn't join us because of the weather. And so we're going to try to knock everyone out right now. So let's start with Dr. Joan Samuelson, our professor emerita. We actually have something for you, ma'am. I'm looking. We owe you a picture. So we want to make sure. So if you'll come up here, I'll come around. We have something for you. All right, and see, this time they gave me a microphone that I don't have to walk off with. All right, so we wanted to give you something to actually hang up. So here you go, unveil it, Mike. Ta-da! So if we could get a picture with you holding it, and yes, oh, and also we want to make sure Nicole is back there from the foundation. She has the paperwork for the endowment that we've established in your honor. We need you to sign what the criteria is so that we can start awarding that scholarship. Oh, yes, here, there too. All right. I did spring it on people. I like to do surprises. Okay. Is Dr. Bennefield here? No. She's on her way. Okay. Chair, maybe you'll indulge us with an audible later on. Okay. So I'm coming back around now. Thank you. Thank you. So Professor Samuelson, again, thank you so much. We're going to also, I've told several people, we're going to do a history of all of the emerita and emeritus professors, and we're going to hang them up at system office. So your picture will also hang up in system office. So when people walk into the administrative offices, they know the great faculty that we've had over the years that helped build this institution. Moving on. No, I'm already got in trouble because I put her on the spot with the picture. So if I ask for a speech, I'm going to get in even more trouble. Dr. Samuelson, trustee Saliva just asked if you want to give a speech. And the answer, I think, is no. But you're welcome to, right? Would you like to? Yeah, see now that's awkward. So, okay, all right. Well, thank you, Dr. Samuelson. Thank you so much for joining us. And I think you had, before we sprung all of this on you, I'm so sorry, you had a prior engagement that I understand you have to step out early for. So thank you so much for joining us. That is the last bit that you have to deal with me. Okay, all right, well, thank you. All right. Oh, you're taking them to dinner, all right. Can I come? No, okay. Thank you so much. Thank you. No, thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Also, as the board is aware, Dr. Freire submitted her notice a few weeks ago. And so Dr. Dempsey has agreed to be the interim president of LSC University Park starting Saturday, right? So he's here so that you know what he looks like. There he is. And we won't have a board meeting in July, at least that I know of. So I also wanted to publicly thank Dr. Smith, who is retiring at the end of this year. Dr. Smith, would you please rise, sir? So Dr. Smith is retiring at the end of this summer, actually, and so he serves as Vice Chancellor of Academic and Workforce Success. And Dr. Smith, we wish you the very best, sir. And I've gotten in enough trouble for springing speeches on people, so I'm gonna move on. Also, today's Braxton's last day, as the board is aware. He agreed to serve in this board meeting, and this is kind of his last hurrah before he rides off into the sunset. He also asked me not to call him up here. Yeah, so Maricela, will you please stand up, Maricela? Maricela is going to be taking over for Braxton as board liaison. So Maricela, if my sources are correct, you have worked here for 8 years. She's coming to us from System Office of Woodlands here. You guys have probably recognized her. She's helped us set up the board meeting for quite some time. She's also an adjunct professor at Tomball, and she teaches project management and Cisco IT Essentials. She has a bachelor's degree from University of Houston Downtown in Management Information System, and she's currently pursuing an MBA at Texas A&M Commerce. So welcome, Maricela. Braxton, thank you so much. I don't know if the board would like to say anything, but on behalf of the administration, it has been an absolute joy to have you work with me, and I'm going to miss you. All right, and then the last thing, and then I promise I will be done for now, is we have a special presentation. Professor Dupree. All right, Professor Dupree, come on down. And Professor Newton. All right.
Good evening, Board Chair Stoma, Board of Trustees, Chancellor Castillo, his cabinet, and members of the audience. My name is Laura Dupree, and I have the privilege of serving as Associate of Arts and Teaching Professor and Coordinator at Lone Star College Tomball, as well as advisor to the Alpha Rho Mu chapter of Phi Theta Kappa International Honor Society. I also serve as a district coordinator for the Texas Region District 4. Joining me this evening are Dr. Matthew Newton from Lone Star College Kingwood, fellow Phi Theta Kappa advisor, and a student, Daniel Vitt, both who will speak briefly after I do. Unfortunately, immediate past international president from Lone Star College Psi Fair, Liam Blakeway, is unable to join us this evening. But in the packet that you've received in the very back is his statement, so you'll get to hear what he would have shared had he been able to join us. We appreciate the fact that you allowed us to reschedule considering the storms last month, because several of us couldn't quite get here because of the weather. Thank you for allowing us this opportunity, because it's been a few years since we've shared an update about the success of our students and the programs. In case you were not aware, Phi Theta Kappa was founded in 1918 to recognize community college students, and in 1939 was recognized as the official honor society by the American Association of Community Colleges. Membership into the Lone Star College chapters requires that students earn a 3.5 cumulative GPA based on 12 college-level transferable credits and current enrollment in at least 3 credit hours on their respective campus. Our students consistently earn all USA Academic Team and Jack Kent Cook undergraduate transfer scholarships, as well as become Coca-Cola scholars who complete their baccalaureate degrees. As a first-generation graduate from North Harris College, the former name of Lone Star College North Harris, an alumni of and chapter president of the Alpha Rho chapter at the same campus, a scholarship recipient including honors, Phi Theta Kappa, journalism, and the Chancellor's Essay at Lone Star College, former president, Phi Theta Kappa international officer, and a chapter advisor since 2000, I can personally attest Phi Theta Kappa changes lives. In fact, I've had the privilege of witnessing literally thousands of students' lives change because of their involvement in Phi Theta Kappa. I've witnessed them be able to do some of the following things: learn how to conduct master's level scholarly research, plan and implement comprehensive projects that impact their colleges and their communities, learn the soft skills that employers say are often lacking, but they're afforded because of Phi Theta Kappa, travel across the nation to learn about growing as academic scholars and servant leaders. And some of these students have never had an opportunity to leave their local communities. They get to present at local, regional, and international conferences and conventions, develop strong relationships with college administrators, faculty, staff, and sometimes community members. And really the list could go on and on. This is only the tip of the iceberg. All of these experiences are transformational, and the results impact not only the individual students, but their peers, because they are able to witness what's happening in the lives of those students. It also impacts family members. I need to share with you that all of my children have gone through Lone Star College. Their spouses have gone through Lone Star College. My husband went through Lone Star College. So if it didn't impact me, it wouldn't have impacted them. So one life can be changed. By the way, all but 2 of those people are also members of or alum of Phi Theta Kappa. We're sharing with you, and I think you have it currently, a 5-year snapshot of the Lone Star College chapters that shows the Texas Region International Awards earned at each chapter, scholarships awarded to some of our students, there's more, and some testimonial letters sharing how membership in Phi Theta Kappa has changed that author's life. Presidents, you'll receive a copy via email, I promise. There's an equity profile on page 2 I'd like to draw your attention to that has some important facts I'd like to highlight. According to the sources documented on the document, the total success rate of community college students is 55%, while the success rate of community college students who earn a 3.5 GPA is 58%. I'd like to remind you that Phi Theta Kappa requires a 3.5 GPA at Lone Star College. Significantly, the success rate of Phi Theta Kappa members is 91%, and it does not matter if the person's ethnicity or gender, or whether the student is Pell Grant eligible or not. The results are the same in all categories. Phi Theta Kappa students are between 91 and 93% successful, and that means that our members complete 33% more of the time than other students with the 3.5 GPA, and 36% more than all community college students. Not noted on that document, but provided from the Institutional Research Department of Phi Theta Kappa, 46% of bachelor's degrees in the United States come from community college transfers, and 75% of those are in the state of Texas. So Lone Star College is doing some really great things within Phi Theta Kappa. Our chapter advisors, who have served the past 5 years, have cumulatively invested 139 years into our students because we see how Phi Theta Kappa changes life. And on a side note, Dr. Peggy Lambert left a few minutes ago. I asked her how many years she had served. She couldn't remember, but I was a student in 97 and she was an advisor. So I know she served at least 20 years, and that's not included in my 139 years. Finally, there's a direct and positive impact to the college's budget because Phi Theta Kappa officers, members, and alumni and advisors are so involved. According to the School of Public Policy, volunteer time is calculated at $29 an hour. Our chapters hold between 1 and 4 meetings per week, each lasting 1 to 2 hours. There are somewhere between 5 and 20 students at every single meeting. So let's take 2 weekly 1-hour meetings with 8 attendees. That calculates to $13,920 per campus, but it does not include planning for meetings, emails, calls, text, conducting inductions, hosting events and workshops, going to conferences, mentoring and tutoring peers, and the list goes on and on. So at a minimum, Phi Theta Kappa has annually provided $83,520 of in-kind services to LSC, resulting in $417,600 in the last 5 years. And that's only for the active chapters. This fall, we will have another chapter that's being chartered at Lone Star College, Houston North. And I've also been in contact with the LSC online representatives who plans to charter a chapter. So we'll have 8 chapters at Lone Star College. Our chapters have hosted educational workshops and events at local ISDs, leading to recognition by Congressman Gene Green, We've helped restore the oldest Black cemetery in Houston, Olivewood. We've launched programs such as other student organizations benefiting at-risk students. We've advertised and recruited for Lone Star College. We executed the first Summer Bridge program that has been kept in perpetuity. We've raised thousands of dollars for Relay for Life, created legacy programs such as graduation resource fairs, veteran and active military luncheons, and foster conferences. We've endowed a scholarship through the foundation, where we're going to start a second. We've rallied the entire campuses and our communities during crises, such as organizing the first campus event after Hurricane Harvey, including the Better Together barbecue picnic, to reconnect students and employees even prior to Student Life getting something coordinated. And during that same hurricane, with the blessing of our administrators, all of our chapters rallied to organize and run distribution centers on our individual campuses. During the pandemic, very impressively, we created informational videos to encourage students to persist and educational videos to help entertain students' children so there would be study time for them. We employed strategies to help us all deal with the outfall. In fact, Phi Theta Kappa never missed a beat. We immediately transitioned to online meetings and programming. We hosted events. We held our inductions. We called one another to provide encouragement. We never, ever stopped doing the things that we always do. We maintained academic excellence. Our students have been recognized repeatedly for what they've done. Phi Theta Kappans see a need and they take action. And the reality is we are all better for it. Thank you very much for what you're doing and allowing us these opportunities. At this time, I'd like to pass it off to Matt.
Good evening, board. Thank you so much for your time. My name is Dr. Matthew Newton, as Laura Dupree mentioned. I'm a professor of government normally at Lone Star College Kingwood, but currently I'm the acting instructional dean of Division III. So I've been an advisor for the past 8 years, essentially my entire employment here at this institution. And I just wanted to speak a little bit about the importance of this organization to not only myself professionally and the other advisors that I will speak for to that matter, but also to our students, sharing a little bit of a couple of important stories. The first one that I'll mention was referenced a little bit there during the pandemic. We had the fortune of having an acting president or an interim president in Mr. Castillo here, who was able to meet with our students to help them work through their projects at a time that they could have never foreseen for themselves, right? And it was incredible to witness these students working to come up with ideas to not only help themselves through that moment of crisis, but their fellow students. One of our officers, our chapter president at that time, particularly noted the level of support that he received from you and appreciated it greatly. You gave him so much confidence to be able to sit in a room with professionals and be able to speak his vision and work through it to see it come to fruition. That success, he graduated just last year from Texas A&M University, and he's hoping to pursue a career in electrical engineering with NASA. That's an amazing accomplishment for an undocumented student, right? This is an incredible thing that he was able to take for the rest of his life and that will serve him for the remainder of it, right? Also referenced the picnic that we had at Lone Star College Kingwood after Hurricane Harvey, the first event that we had as a college after the true and utter devastation that we had at our campus. This provided a time not only for our students to come to campus for the first time. A few students did. We had some classrooms, but nowhere near the volume of a normal class. But we had more than 400 attendees to come to this picnic just to socialize, to see each other, to feel like they were part of a community. And that truly is what Phi Theta Kappa is able to provide to our students, a community, right? Whether you are a member, whether you are a non-member, you are able to come and be a part of the things that we do. Right. Certainly, there are benefits that are exclusive to membership, but there are other benefits that apply to all of the 13,000 students at the Kingwood campus that our chapter is able to provide. And that's why it is so important to us. One of our chapter officers who helped orchestrate that picnic, another international student who was from Nepal, a couple of years later, he was pursuing additional classes, and then we had the pandemic. And with the pandemic, he was faced with a situation of online classes, just like all of our students were. However, regulations required that he needed a certain proportion of his classes in a face-to-face setting. This required him to travel between 3 of our campus locations to continue pursuing the classes that he needed to graduate. However, that was not communicated to him. So when he enrolled for his classes, he received notification from the federal government that his visa was being terminated and that he would need to return to his native Nepal, and reapply for a new one. However, because of the connections that he was able to create with Phi Theta Kappa, with the leadership of our institution, he was able to reach out personally to President, our former president, Dr. Catherine Pearson, to ask for help. She remembered him fondly from their time working together on various campus events and was able to help shepherd him through a very complex and difficult process, reaching out to local politicians to even help with this process. And he was able to remain in the United States and pursue his career goals. He eventually went to Mississippi State University and completed his bachelor's degree in 2021, right? These are just a couple of incredible examples of the wonderful transformative power that Phi Theta Kappa provides to our students. And with that, I want to now pass this over to one of our students who can speak to that quite directly.
Hello, everyone. My name is Daniel Witt. I'm an international student from Germany. And first of all, thank you very much that I'm allowed to share my experiences. And for me, I'm an international student, non-traditional. I'm 27 years old. It's been a while that I'm out of school. And I came here, and navigating through the society in general is one thing, but navigating through a different system, school system, college system is a complete different thing. And I was very fortunate that I pretty quickly got into the Phi Theta Kappa meetings, and I was allowed to serve on the old leadership team, or support the old leadership team. And I met a lot of really valuable people, not only career-wise, but also from my emotional side. And they helped me to navigate through that system, to be a good student. And with that came also the opportunities, because when I first came here, I thought being a good student means having good grades. But through Phi Theta Kappa, I learned that being a good student is more than that. It's about being a wholesome student, doing something for the community, having soft skills. And all these things were not only a theoretical thing in Phi Theta Kappa. I was allowed to go on the Texas Regional Conference and present our poster project for our college project. Not only that, because of Phi Theta Kappa, I've got to meet a lot of nice people who got me into the position that I'm now allowed to work at the Timberwolf Wellness Center in Lone Star College, Tomball. And that is something that is really, really important to me, because I've been in worse times, and I think it's a great opportunity. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Newton and Daniel. It's our hope that the importance of our honor society has been expressed to you, and that you'll take some time to review the document. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to the college presidents. They can get a hold of us, and we welcome any questions that you might have at this time. Thank you for this opportunity, truly.
Mr. Chair, they already gone.
Already.
I'd like to say something, Laura, Dr. Dupree, well, she was Laura, she wasn't doctor when I met her. Anyway, I met, how long ago was it, Laura, we met you and Linda Dodger, and I can remember from my son, many. And I think, was Phi Theta Kappa here then? You were, right, because even my son, who had a doctor, was joined your group, and that's how I met you. And I just want to say that she's a lovely person. I never, and to my illustrious chancellor, I also had an opportunity to speak to, I was a guest speaker to one of their graduating groups since I've been on the board. So it's really, I mean, it was new to me. I'd never heard of a Phi Theta Kappa, but it's the best kept secret in town for community colleges. You're awesome. And like I said, you know, keep passing that torch on. That's all I can say. It's a great opportunity, and it's great for us. It really is.
Thank you. Chancellor, you have another special guest?
Yes, our last special guest. Well, all of you are special, but this one's extra special. So Dr. Benefield, if you'll join me up here, we actually have something for you, and I'd like to take a picture. So if you'll come over here. All right, Mike, this is our encore presentation. Ta-da! So this is for you. We'll make sure, will you stand over here actually so we can get a picture? Thank you. Also, Nicole is back there. See, there's Nicole waving. She has the paperwork for the endowment that we've set up in your name. We need you to sign it so that we can start giving out that scholarship. All right. And the last thing, because I think you were coming in, just wanted to make disclaimer. We are going to hang all your pictures up on the 8th floor of System Office and at a location here in the Woodlands, so that whenever anyone comes in, they will see all of the emeritus and emeritae professors in the history of Lone Star. And so your picture will be up there. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your years of service. It's been an honor and a pleasure. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Now we like to have a workshop hosted by Bridget Johnson. Bridget, you like to step forward and talk to us?
Good evening. Thank you, Chair Stoma, trustees.
It's your mic.
Chancellor. I'm tall. Is this better? Okay, great. Well, I'm presenting today. I'm giving you a current state of OTS, which is our IT team, specifically focusing on our ERP implementation and our cybersecurity updates. So I wanted to start off by saying or defining what is an ERP, because everyone may not know what that is. So an ERP, that's our enterprise resource planning tool. You're welcome. So that's a software that basically helps all of us, helps this organization automate and organize all of our core business processes. So anywhere from HR, finance, our student tools, this is the software, this is the platform that does that for us. All right. One of the questions, big question, is why transition? Well, our current product is sunsetting, so we have some time. It's sunsetting in 2033, okay? All of our processes are pretty much the same. We've had minimal improvements and changes from the implementation in 2009. That's 15 years ago. And so we know with our day-to-day processes and even working with our teams, we have a lot of homemade processes that we're working through where we're not letting technology work for us. And we're in that time and place with technology that is supposed to help us throughout all of our different processes. With our current product, we have a high maintenance load. What I mean by that, we maintain software in 2 data centers. It's very important to have 2 data centers from a redundancy standpoint. So one goes down, it won't impact our operations, and we have to maintain all of that. So you're talking about millions of dollars of equipment. A new ERP is more of a cloud-based. So you don't have to have as much on-site, on-premise tech, okay? It's very difficult to, and I have here in the middle section, to really maintain and attract current talent. You have students that are coming out, professionals that are coming out of college, they're already learning AI. They're already doing machine learning. And so it's not as attractive to maintain and retain talent with a dated system. I almost say it's almost like going to a professional training for WordPerfect or Lotus. Am I dating myself? Yes. All right, I'm gonna keep going. So the system that we currently have, I call it more of a vanilla. It's out of the box. So we did not do a lot of customizations and things like that. We put the system in as is, and minimal changes have been made. What will we gain with a new ERP system? So it's more than 6 items that we'll gain, but here are just some highlights. We'll be able to scale and be nimble when it comes to future changes. We'll have an increased security presence with our new ERP. We'll have increased time for staff to do more with their day-to-day operations because we're automating. We want to do that. We should not have to have so many manual processes. I'm sure if I scan the room on both sides, the teams can tell you how much manual time we have. So A new ERP will help us with that, and then help us with our continual process and improvement. Okay, here's a quick high-level overview of what all does it take to implement an ERP. An ERP is not just some technology that you push in. It's a lot of work that has to go into it. So here's 8 steps. That's a very high level that takes a look at what are the different phases that we have to do. This can take over a duration of years. It's not something that you can do in 6 months. It's not something you can do in 12 months. Okay, so we have to do this in phases. And it's very complicated. Again, we have not done this work in about 15 years. And so we know that we have a lot of homegrown business processes. So if you look toward the first 3 phases, we have to understand and memorialize what are our current processes. If we get a new system, new ERP, but we're putting in the same business processes, what have we really done? And so we want to make sure that, because this is a very high dollar, high cost process. So you're talking somewhere north of 50 to 60 million. And so we want to get it right, okay? So before we can do that, I wanted to just be very transparent with the board and everyone, is that OTS has to stabilize. We currently have a 10% vacancy rate, and a lot of those vacancies are in management positions. And so we have to stabilize. We have to fill vacancies. And so we're working with our partners in HR. We meet every week to go through what are our vacancies, where are we with job postings. And so that's moving along. We also have to work on our culture. Through our leadership and culture survey, OTS scored 2nd lowest in the organization, okay? We have to work there. Our employees, our teams, we need to make sure that our culture is solid. And so we've done some really good work. We've hired our CIO that started January of this year. She's doing great work. We're doing workshops. We did do a quick pulse check where we did a survey across all of the OTS team. And I can tell you that the score has gone up since December to where I think it's 88% of the team is saying that we're headed in the right way and that they're feeling better about culture. So I'm very proud of that. And I didn't do that myself. I have to recognize my team. Everyone's been working very hard. But then also we have to grow a culture of innovation, because we know everyone talks about AI, how can we do this? Well, we have to have that mindset that gets us there. We have to know that we don't have to do a manual process. We have to know that we can streamline, that we can use automation. And so with our team, we have to grow that. And so those are some things that I'm saying is our starting point. These are things we're already doing. And so we're working towards that. Also, so I was speaking very specifically to OTS, but we at Lone Star College, we have to also grow when it comes to innovation. We have to have an organizational change management mindset. What does that look like? We can be very comfortable saying, this is how I do my thing. I've been doing my thing for 5 years, there's 10 years. This is how I do it. So what is the comfort level? What is the palate to want to change? To say, hey, we have a faster way that you can do this. You can do the same process in this manner. So we as an institution, we have to foster that. We have to grow that. So it's not just the tech piece. We have to look at our business processes and how we do business and have a palate to want to change. So looking at our next steps, as I mentioned, we have to fill vacancies. If we start with this down this path of changing out our ERP and we don't have stable positions, talent in place, it's not getting us off to really good footing. So the first thing we want to do is make sure that we fill our vacancies. We also have to look at making sure that we're keeping our current system running, because we still have to do our day-to-day business. And so that's going to be very critical. We also, step 2, what we plan to do over the next 90 days is utilize an advisor, some level of a partner to help us draft what is our budget. I've heard from ERPs saying 30 million. to as high as 100 million. So what is our right number? I'm not looking for an answer, I'm just saying, those are things that we have to work through, is to say, what is that? And so because everyone can say and have their thoughts on what that number should be, it's partners that do this work every day. And so we want to engage so that we get it right, okay? We also want help with looking at what is this scope? Because this is massive. And so these partners would help us define what that is. So when we come back to you and say, here's our plan, here's our timeline, this is how much money we will need, we'll have it and it'll be properly vetted, because we want to make sure that we're good stewards of Lone Star College taxpayer dollars. Step 3, we have to have project governance, because this can get out of hand very quickly. If we don't have solid business processes in place, we know who's doing what, we have that strategic vision. I can tell you that our CIO has the experience. This is not her first time doing this. She implemented the ERP at Rice and other institutions. And so she has that knowledge, she has that skill set, and I'm very privileged to have her as part of our team. This is some of our next steps of what we're looking to do over the next 90 days. First of calendar year 2025, we should have a good scope of work. We should know what this dollar number will be. And at that point, we can start working through and come back and say, this is what our plan is. And then move forward to doing some of those first phases of that 8-phase process. So before I go into cybersecurity, are there any questions I can answer there?
Is it fair to say that you have a good documented view of your current systems? You really understand those?
So we're doing a lot of inventory checks on not just the software and platforms that we have in OTS. We have a lot of third-party things across the entire system. And so we want to make sure that we're doing a good job of understanding what those are, because we don't want to have to pay for twice for the same type of output. So we're actually working through that.
And you're starting to work on what I would call your future state, is that correct?
Yes.
What you want it to look like?
Correct.
Because if you're going to do estimates, you have to have a good definition of what that is, correct?
Correct. And so we're working on 2 things. We have to understand what our current state is first.
Right.
And so we do have partners. I want to recognize Dr. Vian. She's already started documenting what her current state business processes are, because finance is probably the largest component of this ERP. We do have HR, we do have student, but finance is very heavy. And so I'm happy to know that she's already working on that, but we have to roll that out across the entire system.
Ms. Johnson, I'm going to challenge you and the chancellor.
Okay.
Mainly it's you and your CIO, is to bring us along with you. What I mean by that is come back to us on a periodic basis. Don't wait 6 months or a year, and educate us in the process you're going through.
Sure.
So we have a good understanding, a better understanding of what you're doing and the challenges you face, and where, the investments are going to have to be made. It's going to help us and help you if you take that approach. Otherwise, it's going to be difficult. Just take my word for it. It's going to be, you probably know, it's going to be difficult. I would have your CIO maybe address us at some point. Tell us what her vision is and how she's working. Just educate us and bring us along. Be as transparent as you can, because I've made my living in this business, and it's difficult for folks, we call it business folks, but it's difficult for folks who are not technical and who don't understand this or the scope of it. So educate us and bring us along with you on this journey, so we can support you when it comes time to support you when you need what we need. You understand?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Ms. Johnson, you've referenced her several times, but will you introduce the CIO?
Oh,
Again,
yes.
reintroduce her?
Chris? So everyone, this is Chris Williams. He's our new CIO. Chris is, she joined us, the team, in January of this calendar year, and she has already hit the ground running. She has really exposed a lot of areas that we can improve in. She's already implemented some automation, even with our current product. We recently have a project that's running that when we shared the platform that we're working on, it pretty much shocked everyone, but we're gonna get there, and I'm really happy to have her here. All right, okay, I'll go on to our cybersecurity update. All right. Okay, so late 2023, so this was probably the last quarter of last year, we established a new model, a new business model for cybersecurity. It's not that we didn't have it before, it just was not appropriately set up with the correct positions needed. So I did put a small org chart on the side. We have 2 positions that are vacant. We have our CISO. We do have an interim CISO that's doing this work for us and doing a wonderful job. We do have both positions posted. They've been posted since April, and we're looking to have it filled within the next 30 to 45 days. But the new structure will be our CISO. We have our executive director. We'll have a system analyst, 2 system analysts, and then also our cybersecurity strategist. So one of the things that we wanted to start working on when forming this team is making sure that we're really looking at security information. That's our SIEM, which stands for our Security Information Event Management. And that's the tool that really looks at, as things are happening, events, potential risk, that we have processes and things in place and tools to make sure that we're catching those things. We're also monitoring and managing our phishing and all of those different exercises. We're looking at our spam. We've done some really good work, and I'll show you later in our presentation, because we know through spam and email, that's one of the most critical places where viruses and things can come through. And so we're making sure on the technical side, we're doing those things, but then we're also providing ongoing cybersecurity training, because we all have to know what these things look like. What do you do when you get an email that looks fishy, or it says, hey, I'm Chancellor Castillo, can you give me $500? You guys laughed, that actually happened. It didn't happen to our chancellor. It's happened in my previous life. And someone sent the money because they were not educated on what that looks like. Chancellor, if you need $500.
Yes,
I'll help
that
you
will
out,
be your
yes, sir.
first tip, that something's awry.
I'm gonna keep going. And so here with some of our cybersecurity training, as I mentioned, we did training across the entire system, across all 8 campuses. The training was held both on-site and virtual. So we quantified that it was probably about 24 hours of training. We looked at password security, phishing, just overall awareness of what is cybersecurity. We did a quick survey to show, okay, how did we do? Because this is our first time out of the gate kind of doing this thing. So we want to measure ourselves from a qualitative standpoint. And we got 4.5 stars. So I was really happy about that. Also, if you look on the right-hand side, we did do a phishing exercise. So we sent out to both students and employees 4,000 phishing emails. And only 5 people opened it.
That's good.
And so I wanted to make sure we had a quantitative as well as a qualitative view on how well are we doing. And so we're going to keep that up, and we'll keep you guys posted on what we're doing there. I mentioned about spam, and I mentioned how email is probably one of the top portals in which different risks can come in through. So we started looking at how can we adjust our filters on our system to catch spam. And so before we started doing this work, well, let me quantify it some more. On a daily basis, we receive anywhere from 5 million to 8 million emails. We get a lot of traffic, and that's inbound. And so before doing this work, we had about 84,000 emails to come through that bypass spam. So we did some tweaking. We looked at our different filters that we had on, and I'm happy to announce that when we did our last check in May, we were right at 2 million emails that we caught that did not make it through. So I'm very, very happy. The team is doing a really great job of looking at that. I mentioned how Chris is working on automation. We started with some of our security automations, and so we've already provisioned about 50 of some of our most used security roles, and that would be just in our different business processes. Okay, so here is looking at, this is more specific because we do vulnerability scans throughout on all of our different platforms. This one is more specific to Microsoft Azure Cloud, which is some of our Microsoft products. Their scoring to say our best practice is that our institutions are at least 50% our score, and that was as of end of May. We were at 59.27. So we've exceeded what the recommended score is. It's not to say that we are perfect. We have a lot of work to do, but I believe we're headed in that right direction. So as we continue to tweak, train our team, make sure that we're comfortable with all of some of the new processes and the new softwares that we're putting into place, this number is going to go north. And so I'm really excited to see where we land there. Again, I mentioned with some of our vulnerability scans, these are things that we have to do. And so we can look that over the past 30 days, we've mitigated about 99% of the items that came in as being high and being critical. Those are your viruses. So on the low, medium, those may be other classifications. That's not to say that they're not a risk, but they're not the type of risk that will come in and shut your whole system down. And so those are the things that what we put our focus. So we're going to continue to have that focus. We're going to continue to assess all of our different platforms to make sure that we're catching these things, and then also continue training. So some of our next steps, we have to, again, I mentioned that high vacancy rate. This is a very critical role. And so we're working really hard to get that filled. So if you notice, that is our first box. We're looking at our opportunities for GRC, and I have to get to, it's a lot of acronyms in IT, so I want to make sure everyone understands what we're saying. So from looking at all of our different solutions, GRC stands for our governance, risk, and compliance. That's really huge, as well as MDR, which is our managed detection and response. That's looking at all of the different threats that are coming in and making sure that we capture those things. We're going to continue to automate high security roles within our system. We're looking at training, our endpoint security. So really looking at it from cradle to grave. And then you'll hear this word governance. We need to establish that and make sure that we have solid policies and procedures in place in regards to that. So that's some of our next steps in our cyber security space. I'm looking forward to what that looks like. Chris and I have talked about wonderful ideas of how can we incorporate our students. And so we have a really good vision for where we see this program going in this team.
Whenever you have your governance structure, I'd certainly like to see it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's all I have. Any questions for cybersecurity?
I have a
Yes,
comment.
please.
Just want to say thank you very much for the work that you do and obviously the presentation. I know that cybersecurity is a big issue right now, especially with, big corporations having an issue of folks just tying in and messing everything up. So I appreciate everything that you guys are doing for this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments?
Is this the end of the presentation?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay, good. I do have two questions, if you don't mind.
go ahead.
Thank you. And with respect to phishing, I'm wondering if there's a process where an employee, well, let me rephrase it. If anyone on your system has the ability to forward a suspicious message for a scan, and if so, if that service is available 24/7.
Okay, let me confirm that. I don't want to give a response that's not accurate. So let me confirm that and I'll be happy to answer that for you.
We're being, in my world, I'm encouraged to forward any suspicious looking email to our security team for an evaluation. And then it's either don't open it,
Mhm.
delete it, or it's safe, feel free to open it.
Yeah,
So I-
misunderstood your- Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay, I misunderstood your question. Yes, that is part of our process and that's part of our training is that, is that we tell our teams, if it looks funny, if it doesn't have that clear HTTP, if it looks like it's a website that has misspelling. So some of those things that our fishers put into play to try to catch us. I think at one point, it was a couple years ago, an email that was floating around Lone Star was, I'm giving away a free piano. So those types of things that we catch, we encourage everyone to send that into us so we can do our deep dives to make sure that we mitigate. So I'm sorry for that. I did
No,
misunderstand your question.
Was probably explained it incorrectly. Thank you. Chancellor was going
I'm sorry.
to comment.
Yeah, so all I was going to add to that is that when you're in Outlook and you get a message like that on the top right of the client, there is a report phishing. You click on that, it automatically deletes the email from your client and then it sends it over to the appropriate team in IT.
Trustee Sullivan, was that all your questions?
Yes, well, I'll go ahead and ask one more. One that's on my mind. And it's always hard to follow up a really good presentation with a tough question. But I know nothing about ERP. So I'm going to kind of ask you and then the system as well, Chair Stolpe, you, the system as well. Is this something that either could be or should be outsourced? I don't know, but I have to ask the question.
I'll let you answer. I'll give you my opinion, but you can answer it.
Okay. I've seen it both ways. I've seen institutions that would outsource part of it. Some of the work that was done from our previous interim CIO had a plan that it would be a mixed model, that we would have an in-house model and an outsource model. I have not personally, since coming back to Lone Star College, vetted that, but I've seen it. It's pros and cons to both ways. And so I have not vetted that fully yet, but I'll be happy to follow up on that.
Okay.
One
Do you
common
intend to
approach.
evaluate it?
I'm sorry.
Do you intend to evaluate it and then
Yes.
that would influence your recommendation to the board?
Well, as we continue to look at our cybersecurity program, because this is a newly formed model, we really want to look at where our gaps are. So as we continue to look at our business processes, as we learn, we want to really make sure that we are not having gaps there. And so what does that look like from a fiscal standpoint? If we outsource it, what does that look like in versus bringing talent in-house? And so those are just assessments that I have not performed, but we have talked about it.
Thank you.
Well, usually the process is you essentially define your future state. Once you have your future state defined, that's the what needs to be done, right? And then you do your analysis on how it should be done. You know, a fully staffed organization, let's say internal, you can go totally outsource would be the other extreme, then something in the middle. And you do your cost benefit analysis and your optimization to say what's the best for this institution. That's what they need to do. Sorry, that's what you need to do to get to the final number and what their organization is going to look like. So they're in the process. They're not quite there yet. Yeah.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So the only thing I wanted to add is, Ms. Johnson, I wanted to commend you. You started in September and our CIO started in January. And so you guys have really had to hit the ground running. You know, we talk about cybersecurity, that entire division didn't exist before you came to Lone Star. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So not only are we having to sort of build this division of human beings, which part of what we have to do, I think, as senior leaders of the institution is realize that there's employees involved in this. We have to bring those employees along culturally. Those employees have to feel valued. Those employees have to feel like we are going to modernize and automate systems without necessarily laying them off or getting rid of them, right? And so that's part of the cultural component, because if you start rolling out an ERP and we start talking about automation, future states and things like that, employees don't have trust and don't feel comfortable that we're going to do these things and they're still going to be employed at an institution that they love, and it sort of self-sabotages the process as well, right? So we have to remember that the cultural component of it informs the technical component of it, and we have to work hard on both. And I want to commend you and the CIO because you guys have done an astronomical heavy lift in this area, and a culture that you inherited with technical skills and abilities that you also inherited. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All righty, we need to approve the May 2nd meeting minutes. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of the May 2nd, 2024 regular meeting, please? A motion, please.
Motion.
To approve. Anybody?
Second? We got it?
I'm sorry, do we need a motion here?
We did.
I didn't hear one either, so I got a second down here.
Oh, I thought somebody said something up there. Nobody said that?
Did anybody
did.
first motion?
I did. Trustee Wilson did. I'm online.
Okay, so we got a first and a second, right?
Yeah.
All those in favor for approval, say aye. Aye. Any
I
opposed? Any opposed?
I'm abstaining.
One abstention. Trustee vote abstains. All right, special reports, Chancellor.
Yes, sir. So we had graduation season since the last board meeting. So we had, I think, 11, if my math is correct. And I'm a constant work in progress when it comes to my math, so please bear with me. So we had commencement, we had very grateful to the board. We had great attendance from board trustees on the board, so thank you. We also had our first Spanish commencement ceremony on May 18th. And one of the things that our great folks in marketing have taught me is there's nothing better than earned media because you don't pay for it. And so on the very front page of the Houston Chronicle was a Spanish commencement. So we got a lot of great earned media and a lot of positive feedback on that. And so I'll allow the trustees, if they're open to it, to talking about commencement, but just want to let the board know that according to some of the data that I saw, we graduated 16% more students this year than last year. And so that is the single greatest accomplishment of my tenure so far. So I'm very grateful for that. We started the summer schedule last Friday, so the college is closed for most employees, not all, starting last week. I want to remind everyone that we have the Juneteenth holiday coming up on June 19, 2024. And then we have two really sort of long-term coming groundbreakings. Houston North Victory groundbreaking is on June 20th from 9 to noon at Houston North Victory. And then a center that has been 10 years in the making, Magnolia Center groundbreaking, is June 27th from 9 to 12. And trustees, you should have already received details about that. But that's at the Magnolia Center site, which for the public, I'll go ahead and read the address. It's 505 FM 1486 Road, Magnolia, Texas 77354. One more time, 505 FM 1486 Road, Magnolia, Texas 77354. We have the Independence Day holiday on July 4th, and as is tradition, as far as I know, we don't have a board meeting in July, so our next board meeting will be in August. Thank you, Chair.
Sir. Now we'll hear from the Chancellor's Cabinet, Dr. Kishvala. I believe you're up.
Good evening, Chancellor Castillo, Chairman Stoma, and members of the Board of Trustees. It's my pleasure to present to you the June 2024 Cabinet Board Report. Did you know that Texas has a $2.4 trillion economy and is the 8th largest economy in the world? Did you also know that Texas's economy has expanded faster than the nation as a whole for 5 quarters in a row? And did you know that Texas is the #1 state for Fortune 500 headquarters and is home to 3 million plus small businesses and startups? On the job front, Texas is America's job leader. In fact, Texas led the nation with almost 370,000 jobs created in just 2023. And there are more Texans working today than ever before. In fact, there are more Texans working than there are the population of 46 other states. Equally exciting is that Texas received the 2023 State of the Year Award for Excellence in Economic Development and Job Creation, and employers are poised to create millions of new jobs in the coming decade, thanks to our state's favorable business climate. However, experts project that 62% of all jobs in Texas will require some form of post-secondary credential by 2030, which should be important to all of us if we want our state to maintain this amazing economic momentum. To meet this challenge, the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board has focused its strategic plan around building a talent-strong Texas. In that plan, one of the goals is that 60% of working-age Texans will have a degree, a certificate, or other post-secondary credential of value by 2030, and working age is defined as ages 25 to 64. And a second goal is that 550,000 students will complete post-secondary credentials of value each year, beginning in 2030 and beyond. As the largest institution of higher education in Houston, the second largest community college in Texas, and the sixth largest institution of higher education in Texas, Lone Star College plays an integral role in helping to achieve these big goals. This chart shows all of the credentials that Lone Star College awarded from 2014 to 2022. And with the passage of House Bill 8, there's a lot of work for us to still do to ensure that our work aligns with the state's goals. But with Chancellor Castillo's G1 to G5 goal structure, Lone Star College is poised to significantly contribute to the state's goals with some excellent work already being done through my colleagues and the team in the areas of student retention and student completion. But we cannot do this work alone. In other words, everybody sort of has skin in the game, so to speak. It's going to require that sectors across our state collaborate and work together to ensure that we have the talent needed to meet employer demand for years to come. I wanted to spend the rest of my time just highlighting some real intentional partnerships and collaborations that Lone Star College has in place and that we're going to keep front and center because of our new state funding formula. These are all aligned with House Bill 8. I want to highlight a partnership at our K-12 level, 4-year, and our state level. To start at the K-12 level, of course, a fundamental partnership that we have is with our dual credit. And this chart shows the number of dual credit students who have earned at least 15 semester credit hours toward a degree or a workforce credential from 2018 to 2023. And with House Bill 8, that's the 15 semester credit hour is a key milestone, but it's more than that, right? It's about ensuring that students that are earning college credits, regardless of whether it's at the K-12 level or anywhere, we want to make sure that they're on a pathway to a good career that will pay family sustaining wages. At the 4-year level, we have partnerships in place to implement what's called structured co-enrollment programs. A structured co-enrollment program is where a student is enrolled at a community college and at a 4-year university at the same time and is working toward credential completion. We have 3 formal structured co-enrollment programs currently in place, and we're going to be expanding more on these as well. It's again another metric through our new state funding formula. We've got a partnership with the University of Texas at San Antonio and it's regarding 6 pathways in engineering programs. Our newest partnership is with University of Houston at Victoria for completion of core curriculum. And we've got a partnership with Texas Women's University for a pathway in dental hygiene. And at the statewide level, I wanted to share Lone Star College's participation in the online course sharing exchange pilot program. And so part of House Bill 8, part of the charge to the coordinating board was to create and run an institute for institutional collaboration and shared services. And under the umbrella shared services, one of the things that the coordinating board did was to implement a pilot program for an online course sharing exchange, whereby they invited Lone Star College, as well as these 9 other institutions, to participate in this pilot. The objective was very simple: to increase access to online courses for students across the state of Texas so that they could cross-enroll in an online course at another institution so that they could maintain their trajectory toward credential completion at their home institution. And it's through the implementation of a very seamless platform. And so that was launched. We participated in the pilot in 2023. The pilot is complete and the online course exchange is live. And the coordinating board's focus now is to scale the exchange and add additional institutions into it, which will be a key strategy moving forward as we start to work toward those key goals. Now, more than ever, we know that a strong economy begins with an educated workforce. And institutions of higher education are going to have to be even more strategic with ensuring that the talent pipeline that we're creating, that student skills align with employer demand. If we want to ensure the momentum and that we want to ensure that our state remains economically competitive for years to come. As Chancellor Castillo has often said, we are the bridge between where our students are and where they want to be. And Lone Star College is actively working to bridge the gap between education and employment by preparing our graduates to be successful in their chosen careers and to be the driving force in ensuring Texas's economic success for years to come. In short, Lone Star College is helping to build a talent-strong Texas, one graduate at a time. Happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for reminding us that we're big. No, seriously, thank you very much. What's next? Okay, AFT is not presenting tonight. Board members, any reports you want to make?
Yes, sir.
Good, tell them.
Yes, sir. I'll do a committee report if that's okay.
But hold the committee
Hold the committee,
report for just,
okay.
this is other reports. We're going to come to committees in a
Good. Can
minute.
I go ahead and do another report then?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Acknowledging the commencement ceremonies was great. And we've all attended various ones based on our availability or geography. In the few years that I've been here, I've never attended honors college graduations, commencement ceremony. And I was so impressed with the student speakers, the programs, the opportunities. It's hard to put into words because it was new to me. I mean, we've all been to commencement, but that one was really different. And I want to acknowledge and thank Dr. Katie Caruso for her work and leadership, as well as everyone on her team that makes this happen. She is an absolute rock star when it comes to honors college. She lives it, breathes it, and you feel her excitement just being in the room with her. Also want to thank Dr. Dwight Smith because he attended the signing at Rice University, which gives us more exposure and puts more students into an opportunity where they can excel academically and then professionally. So Dr. Smith, another compliment for the work that you've done here at Lone Star, and I appreciate it. Thank you. And then lastly, and this is on a personal note, trustee elections are in November. I definitely am going to file for reelection. I'll say nothing else, but thank you.
All right, thank you, Trustee Sullivan.
I
like
wanted
to-
to,
go ahead.
Chair, I just want to say that
Trustee
I went
Pierce.
to the Spanish graduation. It was awesome. And even after a storm, I was very impressed with the attendance because I didn't think, you don't know what to think. This storm came through, people didn't have electricity. It was hot, but people were there. It was great. It was awesome. And to my colleague, Trustee Salazar asked me, Ms. Pierce, how much of this did you understand? I told her, Paquito, I lived in my husband's from San Antonio. I've lived in San Antonio a minute, but the attendance, I was just shocked by the attendance because I had no idea who was going to show up. People didn't have lights in that area. I don't know how M.O. Campbell had electricity, maybe the generator, I don't know, but it was awesome. And I think that I just enjoyed, and the singing, the talent. I mean, that young lady who sung the Star Spangled Banner, she was incredible. I said, oh God, I thought she was professional until somebody told me, no, she goes to Lone Star. I said, okay, well, she's on her way. You know, and by the way, Trustee Sullivan, I'm filing also. Just wanted you to know that you're not the only one.
Well, I've already filed, folks, so I'm not gonna say anything else. I do want to say for graduations, Sci-Fair is just the best. I mean, it's just amazes me. I mean, you're out there as the leader. How many, 2 graduations? What was that 1,300, 1,500? How many was it? Yeah, you know, and it's just a pleasure for me to attend those and see these students want to come up one by one, and they're so excited and they're so emotional. And you guys do such a great job in the organization and execution of it. It's just amazing to me. So I want to commend you there. And another thing I want to commend, you know, I watch Fox News. You can judge me whatever you want. I watch Fox News, especially in the evening there. Listen to all the BS going on. But there's a commercial running on Fox News, you know, 7 to 9 p.m. slot. It's one of our commercials. This is the best commercial advertising our online college that I have ever seen. I just like fell out of my chair. I had to get up and look and say, this is just the greatest thing. And Chancellor, I think you made some changes in the marketing. Is that correct, sir?
Yes, sir. We're trying to discuss more of the student experience rather than our size and locations and things like that, because if students see themselves, our goal is that the marketing will do itself.
Well, would you, it's only a 60-second spot, so maybe in August, could you bring that?
Oh, yes, sir. And we'll make sure to bring the employees that worked on it so that you can recognize
Yeah.
them directly as well, because they did a tremendous job.
Because this is a home run, buddy. I'm telling you, and it's great for this institution.
But we're just getting started, sir.
Yeah,
So we're just.
that's
getting started.
okay. Hey, we'll build an all-star team. Get it over the fence.
Only showing on Fox?
I don't know. That's where I see it.
No, sir. It's showing everywhere.
All right, so I just want to recognize that. That's excellent work. Excellent marketing. Yeah. Anything else from board members? Now the committee reports. Trustee Sullivan, would you like to go ahead and report on your committee?
Yes, sir. Thank you. I told the board that the Audit and Finance Committee was going to meet after the last board meeting and that I would report. We did have that meeting, and as a reminder, the Audit and Finance Committee is myself, Chair Stoma, and Trustee Kane. So we met with the external auditors, Jones and McConnell, as well as an outside consultant, Deloitte. This was a virtual meeting. Jones and McConnell's work is in progress. It's doing well. There's still a little work to do. We'll have another meeting with them. In our meeting with Deloitte started out their presentation, but turns out they had not introduced themselves to the chancellor, which we felt was very important. So they have set up a meeting, but have not had it yet. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. And I met with them on Monday,
Okay,
the
good.
next Monday.
So they're doing what they said they would do.
Yes, sir, they did.
And we'll report back to the board again when we have our next committee meeting.
All right, sir.
Thank you.
Trustee Maria, would you like to report on your committee?
Yes, I'm going to report mainly that my committee, trustees in my committee were extremely diligent and work hard to make sure we did due diligence, we carried out our objective. And so I'm very grateful to the members of the committee. Thank you. And I guess I don't want to speak ahead of time, but I know we're in executive session. We'll get to discuss it a little bit more, share our insights and our recommendation to the rest of the board. Yeah, that's mainly it. I mean, I look forward to sharing more with the board in closed session.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sounds good.
Mhm.
I'd like to announce the formation of a special committee to consider a proposed change in policy that will change the meeting time and place of monthly board meetings. Trustee Pierce has agreed to chair that committee. Trustee Saldivar and Trustee Sullivan have agreed to serve on that committee. So they will bring us a recommendation, a report and recommendation in the August meeting. And certainly they have the support of board council and whatever they need to come to a good recommendation for this board. So with that, I want to say, go to work. Good luck. Any other comments on the committees?
Yeah, trustee Stoma, Chair Stoma, this trustee Wilson online.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure you can hear me because I didn't know if y'all did a roll call. I just wanted to give an update on the DEI. That's in the
Absolutely. Go
agenda
ahead.
item. So, and I want to thank, our general counsel and her team, for just staying on top of this. I mean, we've all just kind of been on top of it since it was first announced, since last year, and and they really just hit the ground running. And I really appreciate her and her team. So thank you, general counsel, and I thank the committee as well, trustee Pearson, trustee, Maria, for, our sacrificing time and just making sure that Lone Star is doing what they need to do to stay above board. So the SB 17 is now codified in Texas Education Code 51.3525. That is just requires the college to have a policy for disciplining employees and vendors for engaging in prohibited DEI activities, which general counsel already told me that was already already in the policy and in the rules. But because that's a requirement that we have to make known to the state, they've done their due diligence. The proposed change to add the recommended language, we just have to add it to the board policy. Trustee Sullivan, we spoke last time about that, about the policy change. And the board's ad hoc division the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Committee reviewed the proposed changes to the prohibited conduct on the college premises policy, section 2E2, on May 2nd, 2024, approved the proposed policy to proceed to the board for consideration, and that's the action item in the agenda. So that's mine.
All right. Thank you. Thank
Report.
you, trustee Wilson. Any other comments on that, committees? Then we shall consider the consent agenda. We're going to pull item 23 for consideration after our private session. So after the private session, the board will reconvene to consider this one item. Are there any other items that need to be pulled for discussion? Yes, sir. Trustee.
Of course, I have items. I apologize. Item number 5, the
Okay.
text dot item. And Mr. Melson, item number 17.
So 5 and 17, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yep. Any others? All right, then may I have a motion to approve items 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 18, 19, 20, 21, and 22. Motion to approve.
So
Motion.
moved.
It's been motioned in a second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Then the items pass. Thank you. Trustee Sullivan, do I hear a motion to hear item 5? Your discussions on item
Motion.
5?
Second.
Motion.
Second. Got it. Trustee Sullivan?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Chancellor, could you have Dr. Smith come up since it's his item, please?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Sorry to make you come up, Dr. Smith. I read this and I like it, and it's a great example of how we can work with the state. And I wanted to know how we arrived at this and how we can capitalize on it going forward to grow this type of programming.
Sure. Texas Department of Transportation approached Lone Star College over a year ago. Their concern is this: they have a large number of employees, as Dr. Kashvala presented earlier, who need additional credentials. And they were very interested in working with us because they identified 2 of our programs. And Matthew Dempsey, who then was vice president for instruction at Sci-Fair, was involved, as was Dr. Reed Hart's team at Montgomery because there was land survey. So they identified two of our programs, and what Texas Department of Transportation wants to do is support and provide the cost of tuition as well as instructional costs for their employees to take our courses so they can obtain associate's degree in those two programs. Furthermore, they wanted to offer it online because their employees are throughout the state of Texas. So this was an opportunity to meet their needs, to work with the state agency, and that's why we come forward with this board agenda item for you.
Good. I think it's fantastic. I mean, the potential here with the state and all the agencies, as far-flung as they are, it'd be great if we could take this and grow it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. Good
Right,
work.
thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Any other comments, questions? Then all those in favor of item 5, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The item passes. Thank you. Can I have a motion to consider item 17?
Motion.
Second.
Motion and second. Again, Trustee Sullivan. I think
Yes, sir.
it's yours.
Thank you. And Mr. Melson, if you don't mind, this was an issue that caused a lot of angst among the board, and I brought it up because I saw a lot of business practices that probably shouldn't have happened, and you've kind of inherited it. So welcome. Welcome to the party. Yeah, we all inherit a lot of things like that. So if you could just kind of tell us where you are and how 1.8 million for 1 year compares to the previous history and the purchasing limits. And then I'd also like to know, in looking at the criteria, and I'm not saying there should be, but looking at the criteria, I don't see any way for me from afar to read to find out if a vendor supports Lone Star. Do they buy a table? Do they attend our whatever, fill in the blank? And while I doubt we could make that a condition for granting a contract award of any kind, it's important to me that our vendors support the institution so that we can support our mission and our students.
Right, no problem at all. And I've gone back, as you said, I inherited this. I've gone back and reviewed the video and the minutes from several meetings that this was discussed in the past. I think it's safe to say previously, probably before my position existed. And look, I think it's to be totally frank, there was a complete lack of transparency in the process and not a whole lot of oversight to the spend on this program. So what I've done, working with my business team, our CFO, Dr. Vian, and her team, and then the business team counterparts on our campuses, is to look at creating a formal system that is streamlined. It'll be consistent for every spend to buy any sort of these promotional items here. And we're looking at including specific coding for each vendor so that we don't have issues there, and creating consistency across the board. And my business team will be managing, sort of having first eyes on and overseeing operations there, ensuring that we're communicating out the procedures and the process that we need to follow, and then flagging where there may be an issue or a ball being dropped there. I work very closely with Dr. Vian to ensure that procurement and her team and the CFO's office has a second set of eyes and oversight over this spend as well, so we can flag any issues and track and quite frankly, continue to update as necessary, but create transparency in that process. That was really my #1 goal there. And so as the history of, we came from a 5-year program here. It was extended for a year. And the good news there was that over the last year with the previous CFO and now with Dr. Vian's folks and my business team, there have been some procedural practices implemented. We've gotten a chance to see what works there, what may need some tweaking. So that's really what we've built off of. And my goal here with the 1 year and the 1.8 million is really to ensure that we've got the proper oversight and transparency that we want moving forward before we consider anything longer term. On your second question on the vendors, I think there's an argument to be made there that they are supporting us in the work that they do just by partnering with us. Now, the rules beyond that, from a regulatory perspective and from an institutional perspective, I would have to defer to others on that point. I'd be happy to circle back with you there. I certainly don't want us to potentially cross any lines over into ethical boundaries there with our contractual relationships. But I'm hopeful that this new process, I'm very confident, in fact, that this new process with sort of 3 layers of oversight from the campuses to my team to the system office and the CFO's office will provide sufficient oversight to be sure that none of the issues in the past occur again.
Good, good. Great report. And thanks for implementing good, sound business practices going forward. Chancellor, thank you for making sure this has been done. And with respect to not a preference, but consideration for vendors that support our system, the law probably has a lot of provisions regarding that. Do you have any thoughts?
Yes, sir. So I can tell you that when you condition contracts, when you condition contracts on donations, it is a problem, right? And so there's also, and I'm not the general counsel anymore, so I'll defer to the general counsel, right? But I can tell you that there's tax consequences for the vendors themselves. For example, when you condition contracts on donations, because they're not really donations if they're legal obligations, right? So if you put a donation into a contract, is it really a donation if you're contractually obligated to make that donation? And so it gets hazier. And to be perfectly candid with you, one of the things that I've discussed with Mr. Melson and with Ms. Robinson is I'd like to get away from vendors being our donors, because I think there's a whole plethora of people out there that are more than willing to donate to this institution because they believe in our mission, expecting, as St. Thomas Aquinas said, expecting nothing thereof, right, in return. And so I think those are the best donations. So I can tell you that I look very kindly on people that donate, but I wouldn't condition it on it. And I can tell you that when I look at this list, there are people here on this list that very much donate to the gala, buy tables, and things of that nature. So I hope that answers your question. As far as the legal questions are concerned, I would defer to the general counsel.
Okay, no, I think with what you said, I probably don't need to hear from the general counsel. No offense,
Okay.
and that's okay. I do want to kind of clarify that it was not my intention to make it conditional, just a criteria for consideration along with the other criteria that are considered when you score vendors. Don't have to go down that road, but that's
Yes,
what I
sir.
intend.
Understood. Thank you. Thank you for clarifying.
Thank you, Mr. Melson. Great report. Thanks.
Any other comments, discussions, this item? And all those in favor of passing item 17 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The item passes. Thank you. All righty. Dr. Vienna, I think you're up again for the financial report.
Good evening. I'm sure you're all going to be tired of seeing me today and all the financial data, so I will try to go through this as quickly as possible.
You can just say ditto.
Ditto. Unfortunately, not quite as applicable to the last budget conversation, but so what you have in your packet and in your PowerPoint before you is the financial statement for month ending April 30th, 2024. So what you are looking at is, again, our actual revenues as a percentage of a budget from September 1 through April 30th. So the main reminder here is that this is looking at the same period over the course of the last several fiscal years. So we're looking at this time last year when we're reporting. So as you can see, we are collecting revenue ahead of schedule and trending. We have already received 92.5% of estimated revenues while only being through month end April 30th. So to date, we have collected approximately $459 million or excuse me, we've collected 92.5% of the allocation. State appropriations did not increase from prior month due to the 3-pay schedule. We will plan or estimate to receive the final third pay June 15th. So that should be coming in this month and would be reflected. However, tax revenues did increase 1.586 million from the prior month from additional tax payments. And again, as collections tend to slow down. Investments increased 1.6 million from the prior month. Products and services increased 345,000, and miscellaneous revenue did increase 1.825 million from the prior month. So again, we are well ahead of schedule in terms of revenue collection as compared to where we have been and where we're trending up. As you can see, this time last year, we were at 86.7%. So always good news when the allocations are coming in. So what you're looking at now is obviously the expenditures. We are actually trending a little bit at the downward. We're still at the same point where we were this time last year, but we have still only spent 58.6% of our allocated budget, which means we obviously still have quite a bit of expenditure authority left. So we still have several months to go before year end, but that's obviously something that we need to look at because again, we've only spent 262 of our $447 million expenditure. So what you're looking at here is a new slide. We've not shown you this slide previously. It is really just the bar graph of the other version that you're used to seeing, which is the actual financial number. So again, kind of going back and forth between those two just to show you that these are one and the same. One is just showing you more in a bar chart form, and one is showing you in the numerical chart. So really what you are looking at here is just showing you the financial statement for month end April 30th and looking at the variances that we've received. So moving to looking at those items is in state appropriations. We have a variance of $8.4 million, which I know you've all heard me speak to multiple times. And again, that is based off of the performance funding. Tuition and fees estimated end of year 2024 is calculated using the finance tuition revenue model to forecast spring and summer tuition revenues. This model does allow us to look at actuals and historical daily credit hours of enrollment to try to project the values at the end of the term. So right now, estimated credit hours are anticipated to be higher than budget. So again, talking a little bit like we alluded to earlier, when we're talking about formulas and trying to get better at tracking those numbers, we're anticipating that if we continue to track in this manner, that our variance for tuition and fees will be $7 million, which again just means that we would receive that much more than what was originally budgeted in FY24. So obviously it's a good thing when we're budgeting or have a variance on the positive side. On taxes, you can see that there is a delta of variance of 6.3. That means we would be receiving 6.3% less in tax dollars than what we had previously budgeted. Again, oftentimes that is due to certified values changing in those items. But in the tax category, we would receive $6.3 million less. In investments, we're receiving $13 million more. And in products and services, $2.6 million, with miscellaneous coming in at a little bit less than 593. So all of that to say, we will anticipate that if we continue to track in this direction, we will receive $24 million as a budgeted variance of what was approved in the budget based off of what we had put in the 2024 budget. So that's always a good thing to hear when we're receiving more than what we had anticipated. So again, looking at this slide, this is also a new slide. This is just the pictorial version of the financial statement that you are used to looking at related to expenditures. And this is really, again, just tracking our expenditures for this year to date. There was no notable forecasted variances to discuss. So therefore, they were not listed on that individual item. Your building and grounds report is actually listed in your report, and would be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Questions, comments? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
The board will now move into closed session. The Board of Trustees, in accordance with Section 551.001 of the Texas Government Code, will move into closed section under one or more of the following provisions. 551.071, 072, 074, 076. When we come out of closed section, we will consider consent agenda item 23. And just to let you know, that will be our business when we come out of session. With that, I hereby adjourn this meeting. Thank you. 1:34, I reconvene the regular meeting of the Lone Star College System Board of Trustees. We shall now consider item 23, consideration of approval or ratification of first amended executive employment agreement between the Lone Star College System and Mario Castillo. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? And the item passes. Congratulations,
yes.
Chancellor.
Congratulations, Chancellor.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Any suggestions?
No.
Suggestions for future agenda items? If not, then at 7:35, I call this meeting adjourned.